January of 2021, OpenAI releases DALL-E. DALL-E is an astonishing text-to-image model that can create images from a textual description. The very famous avocado chair becomes the face of this model. No one is really allowed to use it because it is thought to be too dangerous in the hands of anyone. What they do release though is Clip. Clip is a very important clock in the DALL-E framework because it is the piece that understands the relation between text and images. Clip was released to the public, and this started a big renaissance in AI generative art because people started to combine it with other generative models and create their own open source models. Things like Wiki and Clip, Midjourney, Disco Diffusion have been created, all of them upon this technology. Forward 1 year after, April 2022, DALL-E 2 was released. This time, a few amount of people could actually use it. After some time, DALL-E 2 started to open it to everyone. They started to commercialize it, in which people have to pay for credits to generate images. In August 2022, Stability AI releases their own model, Stable Diffusion. This time though, it's open source. That means that everyone, literally anyone, can use it who has the resources to run it. September 2022, we already see Meta and Google step into the new field, which is text to video. People in this field are all about the spectacle right now. They want the biggest model, the best results, and that's what it's been discussed mainly. What's not really discussed though is the ethical problems that come with this technology. What are the repercussions on society, on our perception of media, the moment these models are available to everyone? From my own research, from my own experience, I have tried to put together the most important problematics I think are and will be important in this generative media field, which I watered down in 3 main topics. The first one will be copyright and intellectual property. Second one will be automation, and the third one is deception. Generative machine learning models can recreate media because they have been trained on a very big amount of data. This data, of course, needs to come from somewhere, and the place it comes from is the internet. For example, Stable Diffusion has been trained on the dataset Lion 5B. Lion 5B then is a collection of image and textual description of images that has been filtered from the Common Crawl. The Common Crawl is a public organization that crawls, so collects data from the internet since 2011. On one side of the aisle, there are artists who believe these models are anti-artists, that these models are thieves, that they steal from real artists to recreate then their style. David O'Reilly, a 3D animator, has famously posted a very long paragraph on how these text-to-image models like DALL-E 2 are very much against what it means to be an artist. The moment he posted this was when DALL-E 2 became commercial. Using millions of investors, DALL-E has harvested vast amounts of human creativity, which it did not pay for and does not own or credit, and demands ownership over whatever you make, find with it. Paying for it benefits a tech company on the back of a century of human effort. A bullshit deal. DALL-E undermines the work of creators of all kinds. Most obviously, photographers, illustrators, and concept artists who share their work online and never ask to be included in a proprietary learning model. It rips off the past generation for the current one and charges them money for it. Scam. Because it's a black box, passing off DALL-E images as one's work is always going to be akin to plagiarism. All controls are hidden and many ordinary words are censored. Like Google, It uses opaqueness to conceal ideology. Very far from being open AI. It's not even good for memes. The art generators do a better job. And he does have some points. The collection of data that has been going on for training these models has never been consensual. And it's not even that you collect this data, they use it, and you don't really care anymore as an artist that they use your data. The problem is now that if your data was often enough in a dataset, anyone can recreate your style very easily just by prompting an image with your name. This act of collecting data for training AI is problematic the moment you do not ask for a consent of collecting the data. Let's take the example of Greg Rutowski, who is an artist who has been permanently used as a prompt modifier. There's a very interesting article about him that talks about how he feels that this big wave of AI art that has been based upon his name and his work will kind of overshadow his real work. The work that has been generated from his name is a generalized version of his style. It cannot be one-on-one his very own style with also the conceptual part of it. But it is still a big problem because Greg never asked for this and Greg never gave his consent in doing this sort of thing. Then we have the opposition of the people who are actually creating these models, the programmers, technologists who are very much into this and want this technology to go further, and the AI artists who use these technologies to create their own work. Their argument is that the AI takes on a transformative process the moment it generates an image. It is not just copying an artist's style or composition the moment you prompt it with their name, but it's more of a transformative use of it. Just like in remixing, you can sample one's song and decontextualize it and recontextualize it in another way. And in this way, the final work is totally different than the original, and therefore there has been a transformative process in this. The same way artists have been influenced by decades and centuries of art, also AI models have been influenced by whatever has come before us to create something new. It does feel like a good analogy, but it kind of breaks off the moment you think that on one side you have human beings doing that, and on the other side you have a computer who analyzes every image and creates prediction models upon those. Holly Herndon and Matt Dryhurst are two artists that work in this field, who have been trying to propose a new sort of word for this process. So if before we had sampling in the word of remixing, in which you would take a piece of one media and recontextualize it in another form, they proposed we would use the word spawning. Spawning does have different associations because coming from the word of video game, for example, it means to kind of put something into existence. That's kind of what we do with these models. We kind of put something into existence and use the style or the color palette or the composition of already known artists or techniques. The latest work, called Holly Plus, is an act on synthesizing Holly Herndon's own voice and then spread it to everyone and for everyone to use to holify music and audio files. It is an act of trying to understand what it means if a model can recreate the style, in this case the voice, of someone, and what happens the moment everyone can just use it freely without any boundaries. As of now, we have been talking about more general text-to-image models like Stable Diffusion. These vanilla models, or in other words, models that have been generalized to be able to recreate anything. We should also talk about fine-tuned models. A fine-tuned model is a model that has been specifically trained to create a very specific thing that you want it to create. This technique is very interesting because it can get very specific to one's style. And with this we go to the example of Holly Mangert. She's an illustrator who, with no knowledge and no consent, found out that a model has been fine-tuned on her work. She had no idea of what this technology was, and had of course no idea that someone that she does not even know has trained a model on her images. Of course, she was not that happy about it. This very last example is a clear indication of the kind of ways one can abuse this system. You can easily fine-tune a model on a style that is not yours, or on a person who did not consent, and then just recreate and generate 1,000 of images that can simulate very easily that style or that person or that object. The more people then abuse of other people's styles and the names as prompts, the more this technology gets this aura of something that is a stealing technology and is a scam, like David O'Reilly says. This technology becomes an intellectual property nightmare, because the better these models become, the more problematic this can be. Markets are gonna open where they sell illustration and other creative products with the name of these artists but without their consent, trying to imitate them and trying to make others believe that they are the real artists, and just selling knockoff that are generated by AI. There should be an opt-in and opt-out option for these models. These models shouldn't just be trained on unconsensual data. There should also be more regulation on how you can fine-tune a model, because right now you can fine-tune a model on just anything. Maybe one rule of thumb would be that do not fine-tune a model on an artist, on an individual artist who has definitely not given you the consent of doing that. It is different to do it on a specific individual which has their own freelancing work and their own style and everything, or to do it with something more generic and more in the public imagination, like Disney or Studio Ghibli or Nintendo. Because you shouldn't be constrained by this to not make anything and just give up on this technology, but rather one should be more thoughtful on how to approach these models and what does it mean on an intellectual property wise for those people who have been trained on. A big change in the way we're going to consume media will be based upon automation. With generative machine learning models, we will be able to automate the creation of content. Therefore, music, text, videos, images will all be generated instantly, in the moment. This is going to create a very big paradigm shift in the way we consume and create media. There are different levels of things that automation will change, but one definitely will be speed. Artists and creators, designers will use these tools in their creative process, and they will speed up their creative process because with this automated system you can create thousands of variations of anything of what you're creating. This is the sort of narrative that has been told to us creators from the tech people, that this is going to really enhance our work and improve us and empower us. We already live in a work environment where there's a lot of pressure on the single creatives to create a lot of content, and there's a lot of burnouts coming out of that. And the moment we will have tools like this, everyone will be sort of getting used to that very fast pace of content creation, that also real life artists and creators will have to keep up with it and be even faster than they are now. those who are going to embrace this technology in their creative process might have a chance to be as fast as everyone else wants you to be. But how about those people that are not going to embrace this technology? People who are going to not use AI generated tools in their creative process might even stay a bit behind with what the market demands, because they won't be as fast as the others. And if there's the side of people, real artists, real creators using these tools in their practices as a cooperative working environment, then there's going to be also the content that is purely generated by AI. Automation will bring a whole lot of low quality content that's existence is only been created from AI. This, of course, is not going to be the end of the creative work. Many discuss how these tools are going to take jobs from people in the creative field, and while it might do in some jobs, it won't kill the job of a creative. There's always going to be the need of a real human that curates, that sort of understands the context and understands what needs to be done. There are some other fields that require a bit less of this human touch to it, which could get easily automatized. Simple ones like stock photography could be one, or for example a logo making app. Well, it's going to create these sort of services that can give you a very personalized sort of content, which is not really qualitative on a conceptual side, it might be more on a visual side. There's going to be a lot of low quality content by automation in the realm of clickbait. Clickbait content from articles that say something, or images or videos that try to catch your attention are going to be even more clickbaity, because they can be instantly generated, especially specifically to what's most engaging and what's most eye-catching to the people. One field in which I did a project of mine was the field of children TV shows, specifically kids shows, cartoons on YouTube Kids. As James Bridle wrote in his article and in a chapter in his book, the environment of kids' cartoon shows on YouTube has been algorithmically driven and has seen a drastic shift in the quality of the content. The content there is not AI generated, not yet, but the content has been driven by the AI that suggests videos to kids. The titles are a mix of gibberish keywords that trigger the AI to think that's the best video to show to the kid. It might be nonsensical, just a stupid song repeated over and over, or even harmful content. As you can see, an algorithmically driven content creation system does not thrive to make the best content. It thrives on what it has been fine-tuned to do. And YouTube, for example, as any other social media, has been fine-tuned to engage more. And these content creators for kids have cracked the code and understood that very low quality and non-educational content is what thrives more on the platform. My project, the ML Show, is a sort of critical take on this, in which I created a AI-generated endless cartoon show. It's very repetitive because it's always the same episode, but each episode is generated and is its own thing. There's no episode same as the other one, because all of the assets and all of the characters have been newly generated. As this project is now specifically for a very vulnerable target, children, this system can be applied to any sector of the entertainment. Automated content creation is very similar to low quality content, because the AI does not have an understanding of what is created. It just creates whatever it has been told to create. This brings us to another point of automation, which is the endless creation of content. When it takes more than a year to create a 6-episodic TV show, now you can create it instantaneously with 600 episodes. Endless content creation is not something bad in its own. It's just bad if bad actors use it in a bad way. Endless content creation is going to go hand in hand with personalization. There's already been services popping up that use Dream Booth technology to create an illustration of yourself for a small amount of money. This synthetic content creation that can be personalized on a very high level is going to change the way we think about entertainment. We already have seen what a very granular personalization of, for example, the feed means to how we perceive reality. So the moment that the content will not only be curated by AI on a personalized level, content will be also created on a personalized level. Maybe personalized on the individual, maybe personalized to a certain community. If reality already was so divided by everyone, this endless personalized content creation is going to divide it even more. And just think of what companies like Google and Facebook can then create the moment they pair this sort of technology together with all of the data they have about us to create the most targeted ads, for example, or any kind of content that is super targeted to the individual. The scary part is also that we used to need a lot of photos and images to create a nice model that can recreate something. Now you can have as little as 5 images of a person and you're going to be able to recreate it in stable diffusion by fine-tuning the model. So automation can be good, can be bad, but it's definitely going to be a big factor on how it's going to shape the entertainment system and the whole content creation and media environment in the future. My last point of the 3 I wanted to make is deception. Generative AI is very deceitful in what it creates because it creates synthetic images, synthetic media, text and audio that can look very real and human-like, but it isn't. One might say that, we already have Photoshop, people already are distorting reality with their software, and so this is not gonna change much, it's not gonna be much different. The difference though is that you can make it instantaneously, you can make it on a large scale. There's the more political and news level in which fake news can be created very easily and very fast and instantaneously. And this is something we have seen already happen, and with generative AI it's gonna change again. And we might not only think that generated imagery is going to be fake, we're also going to question real media. We cannot trust anything anymore. On another level, our own identity is going to get very disrupted by this technology. Social media already has disrupted a lot our own way we perceive ourselves, our body, our identity. Generative media is going to change that even more. Now we can easily create a photograph, illustration, whatever we want of ourselves in the way we want to be looked like. Basically, all of these things that the last decade have been rising up and have been very much disrupting our trust in media. Generative AI is just gonna hyper boost it a lot more and create a lot of more problems that we've already been seeing. There's also another deceitful aspect to AI we have to be aware of, which is the bias in the AI. As one of the biggest discussions there are in artificial intelligence ethics is that AI is biased because the data it has been trained on has biases that are very human, and those get replicated and resimulated in whatever it creates. The best way to deal with this is that we have to not get sort of deceived by the AI that whatever it is creating is a sort of objective truth of what reality is. Another very interesting aspect, I think, from a deception point of view of AI is that not only we will be deceived into thinking that something is fake or real, but we're also going to be deceived of how it has been created. One clear example is Heinz Ketchup did an advertisement using DALL-E 2 in which they claimed that whenever you typed in ketchup, it will show you Heinz Ketchup. The problem with this ad that I have is that if you type in ketchup in DALL-E 2, you won't get Heinz Ketchup. The whole marketing that has gone through that video is false. It is so easy to claim that DALL-E 2 can create something with a certain prompt and just say, that's what I got, that it starts to deceive us the sort of estimation of what it can do, our perception of what this AI is able to reproduce. Ketchup aside, there's another example that I want to bring up, which is Fabio Comperelli's video that kind of popped up in social media and got really famous. The thing is that this video got popular with the perception that the AI only had been fed human evolution as a prompt, and that was it. So since not many people know of how the actual process of this AI is, many believed, oh my god, this is what the AI predicts, this is what the AI thinks of what it will do in the future. But no, this again is just a deceitful narrative that Fabio Comperelli had nothing to do with it, from what I understood. It's just whoever created the narrative did not probably even understand maybe what they were saying. The video was a well-crafted video of very different prompts with their own modifiers that were one after the other, before the ape, then the human, then the robot. And in this way it was able to create this sort of interpolation between the images. It might be meaningless if the AI was given this one very small prompt of or many longer prompts. At the end, doesn't matter. But it's showing how easy it is to deceive someone into thinking that I created this with only that. And as a closing topic, I would like to also again dive into another discussion that was pretty big when DALL-E 2 came out and Stable Diffusion came out, which is it better to have an open model or is it better to have a closed model? To make you understand what I'm talking about is DALL-E 2, which was created by OpenAI, is a closed model. This means we do not have access to the actual code, we do not know what the dataset was with which it was trained on, we cannot go there and tinker with it in which ways we want to. This is because they thought it was more valuable to not give it to everyone, but it was more valuable to kind of filter what it could do. Already when creating DALL-E 1, they saw there was a great potential of harm in using it in harmful ways. So they kept on creating an environment in which you could not create, for example, famous people faces, or you could not create harmful or sexual content with DALL-E 2. This is a rather ethical approach to it because they really want to try to make this as ethical as possible. But on the other side, they kind of lost a little bit of the community because the community has to rely on a product they do not know the internal parts of. On the other side, there's an open model like Stable Diffusion, which is open source. Anyone can look at the code, everyone can go there and change little things to it and understand how it's made. Everyone knows what the dataset is. That means that we can kind of look at the dataset and say, aha, look at this, that's why it does that, and sort of question it more and discuss it more and be more critical on it. So the open model, like Stable Diffusion, has the pro that you can actually go inside of the source code, really question it, and really be more of a open community sort of thing, so really get everyone inside of it and not just a small group of people in Silicon Valley. But on the other hand, it means that anyone has access to it, and many bad things that can come out of this are probably come out of a open source model, because that's the easiest and that's the most approachable way to go to. So open or closed, they both have the pros and cons, and probably it's the best to just let them both go, and we can kind of pick out the best thing and the bad things from both of them, because there's no perfect way to go with this. I hope that by watching this video you started to think about this technology a little bit more critically, maybe question why are we actually doing this? Why are we creating a text-to-image generative model? Why? I'm very in love with this technology and I can't wait to see what comes next. And the thing is, I made this video for the reason of talking about these more critical discussions. This doesn't mean it's all bad. Of course it is not. Just look wherever else than this video and you will see the beauty and what beautiful things can be done with this. But please always take into consideration of the disruptiveness of such technology. And always think, why are we creating this? What's the reason for this? Democratizing creativity is not a reason. That's not good enough. We already had democratizing information with the internet, and it kind of did it, but it also kind of didn't, because it sort of created a whole space in which false information could thrive. So really be mindful of the way you create these models, the way you use these models, and how you want other people to perceive them the moment you use them. If you're interested in these AI generative models, then go check out my website. I have several projects that deal with this in a either critical or in a more fun way. If you're interested to see what kind of tools there are that you can use to create things, on my website I have a section called AI tools, in which you can easily go there and find very easy or also more professional ways to create content with AI. If you're more interested into the history of specifically text-to-image generative models, go check out my AI timeline, where I keep updated this timeline, which kind of goes from the earlier datasets of AlexNet and ImageNet, all to whatever is the latest technology in this field right now.